Hello, Internet. It's time for another Wednesday's cereal. Let's talk comics. First up is The Overman versus Uncle Sam in Multiversity, and this is kind of the second issue in a row of Multiversity that didn't really grab me. Last week it was more to deal, or last time rather, it was more to deal with the price tag and the fact that it was this huge guidebook talking about all these worlds, and it felt like a very worthless insert overall, especially considering they could have trimmed down the number of pages or given more information. It just wasn't all that it was to be. This just feels like the first issue that just didn't grab me on the same level. I guess it's kind of interesting to look at. We have all these comics talking about things from our point of view, but to literally kind of make this the JLA of the Nazi world and then go to past Hitler and seeing some of that, it was an interesting spin on a lot of things, especially given how tied to the World War II culture DC is rooted. I think this was an interesting concept. I feel like there maybe wasn't enough time to play here to make this a worthwhile story. Which might be the ultimate hang-up of Multiversity, is you're trying to introduce entire worlds and tell a story in a single issue, maybe slightly oversized, but not even fully oversized. And it feels like there needs to be a few pages just to get the narrative out that's needed to make this worth the time. It hurts a little more because up front there was definitely wasted space and wasted pages. Also, I don't know who this Lee guy is doing the art for this book, but the narrative storytelling, shaky at best. We're at Batman Robin 39. This cover is pretty sweet. I don't know. Now that we're here and Damian's superpowered and we're just kind of dealing with it, this issue is just kind of not really about anything except just kind of sitting on that for a while, and I feel like we've already done that, and now we're 2 issues to him back, and honestly, I was happy with a lot of things when he was still dead. This is kind of reaching on the rebirth side of things, and I don't know. I'm feeling a little lackluster on it. I'm really curious to see where it goes in the next issue, because that's really going to inform a lot of what this issue was, which was just kind of building, I guess, but it was really just kind of a quiet issue, and just felt kind of meh. So I'm excited to see where things are going. It looks like it's going to be a fairly big deal, but I'm not so excited about this because it feels like now that we're here, we're kind of caught in this weird limbo where this book is going to slowly be dying, and we're just going to kind of let the book run its course. So Batman Eternal 46, we get Roz here, and Roz gets kind of ticked off the list, as it were. We know he's not the big bad because we're not at that final stretch yet, so it's just kind of, yeah. And this raises the question, is Batman Eternal? So now we've earned our title. It was just kind of a hokey issue, and there was a bazillion artists on this one issue alone. It just feels like this book is just unraveling as we get closer and closer to the finish line. Wasn't super excited about that, but maybe we'll pick up once, they know we're going to an ending, and so, also I wanted to talk about, it was in all the DC stuff this week, but, Endgame one-shots. I'm really not excited about that, but I was really doubly unintrigued by this little quote they have here. We're not sure what's scarier, Joker's smile or Batgirl's you're gonna get it now grin. If you don't know who's scarier, your main villain or the girl's sidekick, it just, this really just rubbed me the wrong way 5 ways to Sunday. This Endgame thing was supposed to be the first kind of inclusive thing, and now we've had literally every one of Scott Snyder's Batman stories spill out past just the pages of Batman, and it's just getting tiresome. Thankfully, it's the end game, and it will all end soon, right? And so, Future's End 42, we get the official end of the second act of Future's End, and we're basically moving to the third act now. So, there's actually probably going to be some real surprises coming up. There's a lot of loose ends that are kind of come together in a way here. Not everything is wrapped up, but it's going to be a lot more interesting to see this book the next issue now that we're here, and the last couple of issues just kind of made this have to be played out. So I was disappointed what happened with Mr. Terrific. They didn't really spin that after where they left it on 41. So that was a little disappointing. But beyond that, this book has been doing great. I'm really curious to see how a couple of characters that they built up and brought to a certain point are going to play in as this kind of has its final breath. And it's going to be really exciting to see one of these things actually hopefully be a story with an ending. So then 8 came out. It's an interesting kind of book. I don't know quite what to make of it. They have this whole 4-color thing here that says hardly spoilers. You flip the cover and it's right there. The past is green, the present is purple, the future is now, and the meld is something else entirely, and it's yellow. Yeah, I don't know. This intrigued me. I believe this is just a mini-series. And it just really reminded me, actually, of DV8 that came out a while ago now. But that was a mini that came around and kind of played on a lot of similar things, and beyond the title connection, obviously. And I feel like this space has kind of been explored that way, and this first issue doesn't necessarily feel like they're going to be doing it better, but I'd be interested to give this at least another shot, because it's not something we get to see as often, and this is at least daring to be its own kind of book. I don't know. Maybe I was in a bad mood today. Deadly Class, number 11. I really gotta say, at this point, I've kind of lost on Deadly Class. A lot of what kind of drew me into this book to start with is completely gone now. A lot of the threads that I found really intriguing are basically non-existent anymore, and it feels like where we started and where this book now is two completely different things, and it didn't earn the transition. We're just kind of here now months later, and I feel like after a year this book just ain't what she used to be. I might be looking for something else to replace this in my image slots. On the flip side, Lazarus 15 really was actually pretty good this month. This isn't the best issue because there is a large silent action sequence in here, and it's good for a while, and then more and more pages keep doing the same thing, and when we're done with it, there's also a lot of great stuff, but it kind of wraps up really quickly, and not a lot happens in here because they dedicate so much to this silent action, and it was really good, and it was tense, and it was done right, and then it just kind of kept going. I feel like there was a little bit of space just kind of wasted, honestly, when it was all said and done. So, the pacing's a bit off, but still a really strong comic. This kind of brought me back around on Lazarus, so sometimes it's worth waiting out a couple bad issues just to see where things go. I'll probably end up doing that for Deadly Class because there's a month break, and then it's going to come back, and it looks like there's kind of a big deal with 13, and then take the book from there. So, also that'll be about the time that some stuff's going to be thinning up for me anyways, so it might be with, yeah. Yeah. And then finally, I think this is the last time we get the double title, Tooth and Claw. The Autumn Lands has come around, and this issue felt a lot more natural. If you were put off by the first 1 or 2 issues, I really feel like in 3 and 4 this book kind of came around. Elements from those 2 issues definitely are playing a huge part, but now that the book has actually, in a lot of ways, maybe not necessarily slowed down, but spaced itself out a bit more instead of being so dense, as opposed to a couple of the other comics I was just talking about, it's hit that right stride. Now we're here, I just feel like they were kind of worried about getting all this exposition out, and this book might have been smarter to save some of that for later, because a lot of it still hasn't paid off, and this is going to be a book where you're going to kind of have to revisit. Honestly, at this point, if you haven't picked up The Autumn Lands, I would very strongly suggest picking this up in trade instead. This is going to be such a dense read. Trying to hold on to stuff month to month, I already kind of feel it slipping, but I'm enjoying it and I'm already there. But I feel like most people would benefit from reading this in a different fashion. So there you have it. Though at $3 an issue, this kind of can't be beat on the shelves right now. So it's pretty awesome. And then, kind of not an announcement, but more, I wanted to point out there's no Marvel in my stack this week. There's a reason for that. First of all, I was going to try to pick up Silk. Like, I looked at it, but I flipped through it for just 2 seconds. The art just pushed me away. It honestly feels like the C book of the 3 Femme Spider books, and honestly none of them are particularly sounding intriguing to me right now, but I might pick up a copy of Spider-Gwen no matter what, just to rest on it. But I wanted to let you know I am getting Marvel comics. I just don't get in my weekly stack, and by the time I talk about it, it would be later. So, I am keeping up with, and then I finally got my last issue of Spider-Verse, so Spider-Man 2099. I have been reading Amazing X-Men, and that's been interesting, but not the best. I've really actually been loving Cyclops, of course. I'm on Deadpool with the subscriptions now. Hawkeye's wrapping up, so I don't know how that works with the subscriptions. And Magneto. I know some people haven't been liking this. I honestly think it's one of the better things Marvel's putting out, but it should definitively be a $2.99 book. So I've been doing that with Marvel because the truth is when you get it through the subscription, it's 40% less, which puts it where I consider it to be affordable for a lot of these books. There's obviously a few Marvel books that I get on the week of. Those are the books I honestly can't wait for, and Deadpool actually probably would be among them, except I have nobody to talk with about Deadpool month to month, so that kind of made it, I want to read it, I definitely want to read it, but if it's a couple weeks later, it's no big loss to me. But if anybody's talking those Marvel books, wants to hear my opinions on that, you're here, I guess, right? I don't know, it might be worth me doing a different video, but I only want to do it if anyone cares. So that's the reason I put these things at the end of my videos, because if you care, you were listening, and if you don't care, whatever. So yeah, basically, if you want to hear me talk my Marvel stuff, whatever, just let me know. There's a whole comments thing. I'm on the tweeters. You can grab me at my comic shop, maybe? That sounds creepy and stalkery, but, that'd probably work. I'd fear for my life, and then I'd have to do the videos, right? And also, of course, I'm trying to do the graphic novel thing, so if there is a graphic novel you would like to talk about with me, I am certainly game. Just hit me with the title of what you're interested in and an initial proposition of a time for us to talk about it. I will try to make my schedule work to make that happen with a little bit of planning in advance, but no promises, and I do have, a life and things to do, so that's always a trick. But I am certainly interested. So, yeah, please, there's a couple in the works. I'll see when we can managed. There's supposed to be a V for Vendetta talk. Running with Comics was interested in talking about Day Tripper. I'm supposed to be talking Deadpool with maybe one or two people, and maybe another Superman talk. Freedom Steven, we'll see. And I'm just open for more of that. So hit me up, let me know, and I'll just blather at you on YouTube. That's what I do.